Hello, my name is Carly DeVito from OCLC Training. During this session, we will review the Analysis tab in GreenGlass for serials. There are two primary navigational tabs at the top of every GreenGlass screen: Serials Collection and Serials Analysis. To access the Analysis page, click here. You will land on the Overview page, which will display a list of your saved queries. The results of each query appear here on the left, and the parameters for each query appear in the center of the screen. On the far right, you will find the options to edit, clone, or delete each query. To build a new query, open the Query Builder by clicking on New Query. As you can see, the Query Builder is divided into two panels. The query parameters are entered on the left panel, and then results appear on the right. As changes are made in the left panel, the right panel fades and then refreshes, so the specific impact of each threshold can be seen immediately. The point here is that you can experiment freely with any number of possible scenarios. Before building a query, you'll want to be familiar with some of the available components, some of which have been customized for your library. First, in the top left, you have the ability to name every query. After naming your query, you will have the opportunity to select all subjects, specific LC classes, or even specific LC subclasses and ranges. If yours is a Dewey library, you'll also have a similar opportunity using Dewey ranges. You also have the opportunity to search by call number strings, useful for searching non-standard call numbers. You can search by title name if you are looking for information on a specific title. To search for a title such as Scientific American, enter the title into the Search by Title field. Enclose the title in quotes for best results. Here, under Locations, you can segment your results in subsequent lists by using collection codes and location codes. If your library chooses to include government documents, those can be isolated here. You also can control your results by language. Simply enter the three-letter code known as the primary language code from the MARC record. If you wish to include multiple languages, separate the codes with commas. As you enter parameters, each one will appear under the tallies and above the chart. There is a place to enter in the MARC code for the place of publication. This works like the primary language feature. You can also segment your list by local holding states, including the start and end date of your local holdings and/or the local holding span. The local holding span is the length of your journal run in years. This is where you can focus on the characteristics of your run of a given title. When does it start? When does it finish? And how long is the run? Another option is to restrict your view to a specific publication status, such as continuing or discontinued. This is information which is taken from the WorldCat record for this title. If you decide to include usage data in your serial project, there is an option to set usage thresholds for recorded use and last charge date. To see if your titles are held in a known journal archive, select one of your chosen journal archives here and choose one of two options: Any match, which tells us that the archive holds the same title as you, and Substantial match, which tells us that the archive substantially duplicates your run of the journal in question. Note that the results for a substantial match search will depend on the data in your local holdings statement, so results may vary. A third option, no match, will identify titles that are not held by the archive in question. The WorldCat publication dates search option lets you search for publication dates and publication span for the titles in question. This is where you can focus on the characteristics of the full run of a given title, not just what you hold. The WorldCat Holdings section will allow you to set title overlap thresholds at the country level, at the state or provincial level, and within comparator library groups established for your library at the onset of the project. You also can control query results based on HathiTrust status, and lastly, at the very bottom of the left-hand panel, there is an opportunity to combine the on-screen query with one or more saved queries. For an OR operation, choose the Combine Results with Other Queries option. And for an AND operation, choose Intersect Results with Other Queries. Now, we'll scroll back to the top and build a sample preservation scenario. We will seek to identify materials that are scarcely held and which the library may want to digitize, preserve, or protect on behalf of the collective collection. First, we will start by entering in a name for this query. I will click on New Query and then enter in the name Preservation Scenario. I then will click Confirm. We will include all subjects, locations, and types. We'll ignore local holdings date, publication status, and usage history, and head straight for the Journal Archive section. Here, we'll identify titles that are not held in our chosen journal archives. In this case, we'll specify no match for East, West, and HathiTrust. We'll further restrict our list to titles that are scarcely held in country. We'll select any edition matching, and then restrict our list to titles that are held by fewer than 10 libraries in the United States. In the right panel, we can see that the number of matched holdings is 200, which represents 3.9% of the entire collection. You can save a query at any time by clicking on the Save button in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Now, let's build a sample query to identify potential withdrawal candidates. I have opened up a new query builder to start the query from scratch. Now let's build a sample query to identify potential withdrawal candidates. We will once again start by naming our query. I will click on New Query and enter in the name Withdrawal Scenario. I then will click Confirm. We will once again include all subjects, locations, and types. Let's say we only want to consider for withdrawal titles where our most recent holding is more than 10 years old. This will correspond to a local holdings end year before 2011. We will only consider titles where our run is substantially duplicated by a known journal archive. In this case, we will use the Western Storage Trust. We also will only consider titles which are held in more than 100 U.S. libraries. At this point, we can see that 866 holdings match the requirements of the query, or 16.7% of the entire collection. You will notice that the green portion of each subject bar on the chart represents holdings that match the parameters entered so far. And of course, additional thresholds can be added. From here, you are free to save or export the list by clicking on the Export button here. Whether or not you have saved the query, you can scroll down the page to view the charted data in tabular form. And further still, to see a list of serials that match the current parameters. To see details for a particular holding, click on the title entry. To see more details about the title, click on the Details link. If you have trouble creating a query that meets a specific need, don't hesitate to reach out to your implementation manager for assistance. You can also visit us at help.oclc.org for documentation, training, and contact information for OCLC support in your region. We welcome your feedback and hope you enjoy exploring your collection using GreenGlass.